Shanchita, I would like to welcome you to our discussion today on the role of women in leadership. It so happens that we are celebrating the 20th anniversary of the United Nations Security Council Resolution 1325 on Women, Peace and Security. DKI APCSS is also commemorating so many advances in women's leadership. And as you're aware, we are very involved in building the capacity of women from partner nations. You are one of our very distinguished alumni. You attended our Advanced Security Cooperation course in 2014. And you have since made a lot of progress as a leader in Bangladesh Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and subsequently you were appointed to the United Nations. I would like to hear more about you, a little bit more about your background and your career development as a leader, a female leader, a prominent leader in Bangladesh civil services, and subsequently as an international diplomat.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saira. It's really an honor for me, and I feel it's a privilege that you are interviewing me. And the opportunity to undertake a course in DKI APCSS, which had a big role in my thought process also. But I will come to that later. At first, I would like to tell something about me, and thanks for your generous introduction about myself. In 2003, I joined Foreign Service through a very competitive exam, which is called Bangladesh Civil Services Exam. And I had the opportunity and good luck to be selected for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. I would tell you that, in fact, my major in the university was not international relations. I was primarily a student of English literature in my country. And later, from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, I undertook a master's course in international relations in the Australian National University in Australia. However, why I chose this career, being a student of literature and English literature, in my course in university, it was not only English literature, it was basically English literature, then literature of the rest of the world, like Indian literature, literature of the Caribbean, American literature. So I came across diversity in thoughts, diversity in culture from my studies in the university in English literature. So that gave me a feeling that if I could get a career like that, where I can really meet people from different culture, people with different thoughts, people with different perspectives, it would have been better. And I really deliberately chose foreign service from that mindset, that I want to meet people, I want to see the differences around me, differences around the world, and then maybe that will give me an opportunity to look for the commonalities, understanding the differences and looking for the commonalities, and then negotiate and come to a solution. This is in total what diplomacy is all about. So this is how I actually chose Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Foreign Service, and my my career, to say a little bit about my progression in my career. I have done bilateral in India, which we consider as one of the most important missions, foreign posting for any Bangladeshi diplomat. So I had the opportunity to serve in Delhi, where I could get a very good grasp of Bangladesh's relationship with India, which is a regional leader, promising global leader as well, and how we can accept this reality, how we can strengthen our relationship with neighboring countries, of course, with India, China, Pakistan, and other South Asian countries. So and also the regional politics, I could get a very good knowledge of that. But then after that, when I was transferred back to Dhaka, I had the opportunity to serve in the multilateral desks. And over there, I had started working on development issues. And after having worked over there for almost more than 2 years, I was posted here in New York. So, and this really, opens the window of opportunity for me to have a good sense of real multilateralism. Here, 193 countries, delegations sit together, they discuss peace, conflict, development, human rights, everything. So I had got the opportunity to enrich my career, my outlook as a diplomat. And I'm sure that in the process, I have really developed some leadership quality. I won't say that I have become a leader. I am still learning, and I'm very open to learn. And I would say that my career has really helped me to broaden my outlook and to respect differences. That is something I really value a lot. Thank you.
Shanchita, that's very interesting. I would like to know, based on your time in Delhi and subsequently at the United Nations headquarters in New York, what key leadership traits have you practiced that have helped you develop your skills and your finesse as a diplomat, especially considering that international diplomatic circles tend to be predominantly, they tend to be predominantly male. So how have you developed your leadership skills?
Thank you, Saira. I think that's a very good question, a very relevant question for me. You see, to me, leadership is like, first, you have to respect others, as I have just mentioned in response to your previous question. At the same time, being a diplomat or being a civil servant of a developing country, which is now on the path of graduation from the LDC category, of course, we had many challenges. As a woman, I come from a family which was very liberal. My parents were very liberal. So initially, I did not have that challenge, which many other girls have to face still now. But I would say that I had the privilege of having equal opportunity from the very beginning of my life. So now I think that yes, I had to go through lots of examinations, I have come across gender stereotyping, but I really tried to transcend my role as a woman. And luckily, I had a supportive family, and also I had a supportive work environment in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So if you say which leadership quality I have attained in the process, I would say that now paving way for others is the leadership quality that I have achieved. Now I am a woman with privileges. Although this path was not very smooth, but I have attained it. But there are so many, as I have mentioned, underprivileged. So if I can do something now in my career as a diplomat, we really cannot go to the grassroots level in Bangladesh. We have to, because I have to live abroad all the time. Most of my career, I have been living abroad. Now, how it is possible to pave way for others, for the underprivileged women? I think that even a diplomat can do that. Like here, when we are talking about WPS, when we are talking about challenges of development, we have the opportunity to highlight the challenges of that the women particularly face in our societies, in the societies of any developing country. Gender stereotyping, of course, it's universal. It's a universal challenge. Then financial inclusion of the women. Then, opening up all profession for women, opening up economic opportunities for them. I consider these all gender specific issues, but here in UN, we have the opportunity to discuss these things. We have the opportunity to minimize our differences in opinion on these issues. And also we have the opportunity to strengthen cooperation. The whole point of being in the UN, sitting in the negotiation table, is that you open up opportunities for strengthened cooperation. Otherwise, I could have lived in my own country, I could have worked within my own country. But here I have been sent with a very specific purpose, that is to negotiate negotiate opportunities for the developing countries, for us. And here in all, there are 3 pillars of United Nations: human rights pillar, peace and conflict pillar, and the development pillar. So in all these issues, women issues are vital. And this is how I think I'm working here for the women also. If I can bring one UN project to Bangladesh while working with the agencies, UN agencies here, I will consider that I have tried to do something for the underprivileged women of Bangladesh. If I can do something like bring one ICT-based project in Bangladesh through a UN agency, I will consider that finally I have been able to do something that will give me a sense of purpose, that will give me some meaning to my work as a diplomat. So paving way for the underprivileged people in Bangladesh, specifically for the women and children, I think that is a leadership quality. This sense which has grown in me, perhaps it can be considered as a leadership quality. Thank you.
That's excellent. And it's really wonderful to hear your insights, Shanchita. You partly answered my next question, but I would still like to bring it up. And this question is about whether you think women lead differently than men. In your experience in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Bangladesh and at the United Nations, how do women contribute to security-related outcomes? Do they lead differently than men? Should we have them? Is it necessary to have women there?
Of course. This is a very good question, Dr. Saira. I must say again, yes, women lead differently. Now, how they lead differently, there's something called feminine approach and masculine approach. Use of force can be considered as a masculine approach, but more negotiation, more engagement, more understanding of the needs and the priorities of the host community or the community who is in conflict situation. This is something I consider a feminine approach because, for example, the United Nations peacekeeping operations. I consider the whole peacekeeping operations is based on a feminine approach because it is all about your engagement with different stakeholders. It's all about preventing use of force. It's all about creating accountability and justice for the gender-based crimes or gender-based discrimination which had taken place in a conflict area. So all these things are very soft approach. and how you prevent the use of force. So the entire United Nations peacekeeping operation is all about that. So if you bring more women in the peace negotiations table, then you actually you actually have those actors who practice those things because by virtue of their being women. So and I have heard here in UN from many peacekeeping experts that if there is even one woman in the peacekeeping in a particular mission, peacekeeping mission, she brings a whole lot of change in the environment. Like she understands the issues of the women and children very well, and she tries her best to use all the options in hand. So I think that I am not trying to undermine any men, because I know still in the peacekeeping operations, in the peacekeeping missions, women are underrepresented. Women are, it's the men who are in majority, and peacekeeping operations are being successful. So my point is not to say that men do not have this feminine approach. Of course, they are part of this feminine approach, but there are many challenges for which women cannot. The number of women is not increasing that much in the peacekeeping operations. That's a challenge. That's a challenge. We really are looking into it, why we are having less number of women in peacekeeping operations. But I would say again that yes, it's a feminine leadership is different. They are more prone to accommodate others' views. So if there had been more women in peace negotiations, perhaps things would have been much different.
Thank you, Shanchita, for your insights. In your view, what can be done to make peacekeeping operations and peace negotiations more gender inclusive?
Thank you. In fact, yes, as I was saying that why less women are coming, like in Bangladesh, since 2007, we have been deploying women in our peacekeeping operations. And in 2016, in Côte d'Ivoire, we sent the first first ever in the history of UN peacekeeping operations, woman contingent commander. And then we, in 2010, in 2010, yes, we sent a all women police force in Haiti. Now, why I'm saying this, that we really need this kind of role models to inspire other women. Yes, there are challenges like, our systems, be it in the UN, be it in Bangladesh, or be it in any other part of the world, our systems are created in a manner that they actually address the needs of men. Women have entered at a later stage, and that's why these systems are still not very women responsive, their needs responsive. It's not that. So at this stage, I understand, I'm being realistic, that at this stage, perhaps it would be very difficult to change everything overnight. But what is possible is to bring more role models, create more role models for women to come and take the opportunity. Let me tell you that in UN, last year, 15%, there was a target that 15% of the peacekeeping operations of the UN should have women. 15%. That was the percentage which was given by the UN, but no country could fulfill that. But, the countries who are participating in the peacekeeping operations, all of them actually recruit women, but still they could not fulfill the target. I have heard that it's not even close to the target. Okay, so I feel that the first thing is, you have to inspire other women, motivate other women, and one of the tools of motivating is you create, or you give them role models which they can follow, and they would be inspired to inculcate in their dreams, in their aspiration. The second thing is, well, there must be, legal provision. Yes, in Bangladesh we have that. We have the legal provisions, like we have the reservation, we have the quota for women, so that it's an equitable. Our purpose is to create a equitable society, and our purpose is to encourage more women to join these challenging, unconventional professions for women. However, if as I was saying that to inspire women, other women can also play a proactive role. They can create some networking, they can create platforms where they can congregate, they can voice women's opportunities, not only their challenges, but the solutions, how they can address those challenges. And in this networking or creating platforms, not necessarily there should be only women. You should, women should engage with the men, because it is the men who, in my opinion, who can play the most catalytic role, because their support is needed. So this is very important that we engage through networking and creating platforms, private sector, academia, and then different professional organizations, because in every profession there is now a woman, but our purpose is to increase their numbers. So this is another thing. The third thing I would say, women in decision-making roles. That is very important. If the women are only in roles which cannot really make any decision, then other women will also not be encouraged. Then your father, your male individuals in the society, they will also not be encouraged to send their girl children to any challenging profession. Rather, they will simply try to get them married, and they will think that they should simply be allowed to to play their conventional roles, because that is more comfortable. Their security, you don't have to think about their security if they are in conventional roles. So what is important is that you have to give this confidence in girl children, in their parents, that they have the potential, they have the capability to transcend their given roles in the society. So I think that is very, very important. And if you may allow, I can give one example from my personal life. That is my mother. My mother was only 16 years old when she got married in 1972. And, she was only in 10th grade. And since it was at that time, our economic condition of the country was very bad. It was a war-ravaged country. And so her father simply married her off. But she had great interest, great willingness to continue her study. She told my father that she wanted to study, and my father despite all his difficulties, despite all the financial challenges he had, he allowed her and he created the environment for her so that she could study, and she could become a lawyer. Now she is a lawyer. So what I am trying to say by giving this example is that you have to have this faith. I mean, a husband has to have this faith in the woman, in the girl child, about their potential. Only then we can, change the society. And without changing the society, actually, even if you put one or two women in foreign service or in courts, things will not change because others will not be encouraged to join. So it's very important that this encouragement, this faith in women's potential has to come from the family. So society has to change for that. Thank you.
That's really amazing. Thank you for sharing your thoughts, Shanchita, and certainly also for sharing your personal experience. I have one more question for you. What advice would you give emerging leaders, female leaders in the Indo-Pacific region, assuming we asked you to mentor them? What advice would you give them based on your experiences?
Okay, thank you, Dr. Saira. In fact, in Indo-Pacific region, which is very much my own region, as I was saying, that gender stereotyping is very, very acute. But I would say that almost all the governments in this region are putting up efforts to change the situation. They want to integrate their women workforce with the mainstream development. And for that, it is very important to have good education, to have quality. Equality actually cannot be achieved unless you have that quality. So equality and quality, these are very interconnected. So, and women must have, the opportunity to love technology. They must have the opportunity to use technology. They must have love for machines. And equally, boys must have the opportunity to have the pleasure of cooking, to have the pleasure of cultural performances. What I'm trying to say is that a balance, rather than imposing different roles on individuals of the society, if we can really break the stereotypes, the deeply entrenched gender stereotyping, only then you can bring changes. Coming back to your question, that in Indo-Pacific security structure, why there are less women, I think it's very much interconnected with women's backwardness in general. While I was preparing for this interview, we have a defense advisor who is a brigadier general from our military. I was discussing with him that what are the things that are really preventing, because particularly like in our military structure, there is no barrier. Apparently there is no barrier. So barrier actually lies somewhere else in the deep down of the society. It's not it's not visible because it's not on the surface alone. It's much deeper than that. So like physical stamina is one thing which is considered that men have stamina or physical strength or physical fitness more, women have less. But my thinking is that it's not only infantry or armored division that women can play a role in security structure. There are many other areas like negotiation, like communication. Yes, in engineering, medical corps, there are many women. In Indo-Pacific region also, there are many, considerable number of women in those divisions, but they are absent. They are absent in infantry, artillery, armored division. But I think that if gender responsive security structure can be created, then more women will be coming to this service. If you kindly allow me, I can tell you that here in the UN, there is an advisory, intergovernmental advisory body, which is called PBC, Peace Building Commission. Bangladesh is an active member of this, and with Canada, we are in the steering committee of LC initiative. This initiative is about how to remove barriers of women peacekeepers with regard to their career progress, recruitment, retention. There is another one which is which Bangladesh is now spearheading, which is called A4P WPS warriors. So through these initiatives, what we are trying to do, we are trying to implement the commitments that the 1325 resolution made about women's engagement in peace and conflict resolution. So I would say that if in Bangladesh last year, the National Action Plan for 1325 was adopted, and that has recognized our commitment to strengthen or to accelerate more women's participation in peace processes. So again, just as concluding remarks, I would say that governments definitely play the most vital role in creating enabling environment for women, but international cooperation is equally important to address the vulnerabilities of different development settings, like particularly in the developing countries like mine. Of course, international cooperation would mean a lot to change the scenario over there. Thank you.
Thank you, Shanchita, for sharing your experiences and for the work you've done on women's development. Bangladesh is one of the exemplars in women in development in South Asia. It's ahead of all South Asian countries as far as women's development indicators are concerned. And it's one of the 6 countries that have been recognized by the UN to have achieved the Sustainable Development Goals, and at least it's on target. So Bangladesh is doing really well. Do you have any final words for what the rest of the region can learn from Bangladesh?
Yes. I actually take pride in the fact that the government, as I said, government plays the biggest role. Dr. Saira, I don't know if you know that in Bangladesh in 1972, the architect of Bangladesh, father of the nation, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, he declared our women who faced violence in our independence war, he declared them as freedom fighters. In modern history, this was the first time a leader had recognized women who were subjected to violence as freedom fighters, just like their male counterparts. Their war was a different type of war. So that was the beginning of the commitment of the government of Bangladesh to women empowerment. And now we are, next year we are going to observe a 50th anniversary of our independence. And I can tell you that throughout in fact, our society is more liberal towards women. I find that, yes, we have gender-based violence, we have gender stereotyping, but at the same time, I see that more or less our men are respectful to women. Society is I would say, more respectable to women compared to many other societies. And there is constitutional obligation, there are legal provisions, there are institutional arrangements. All these have added value to the purpose of empowering women. Our main economic sector, which is ready-made garments, that is run by women. Our agriculture, over there, more workers are women. So women are drivers of our economy. So they are not only the drivers of change, they are the drivers of our economy. So I would say that many other countries can really follow. Yes, we have many challenges in Bangladesh, still many challenges. We are not complacent, but we believe that the main thrust, the main force and commitment has to come from the government. Then all other actors, other stakeholders also join the hands of government in changing the situation of women in the society. Thank you.
Thank you, Shanchita. We learned so much from you today. Really appreciate your time and learning about